Hey, Pigs fans, welcome back to another episode of Welcome to the Pig Leagues. Radio broadcaster Pat McCarthy here, and joined by former Iron Pig and former Philadelphia Philly, now current Phillies radio broadcaster Kevin Frandsen. Kev, thanks so much for joining us.
Pat, how are you?
I'm as good as anybody right now. How are you?
Bored. I think like anyone and everyone. There's always things you're trying to figure out what to do with your time. There's a lot going on right now at home. So, I just like everyone else, just trying to figure it out.
So, as I'm sure you know, based on your conversations with my father, he is doing everything in the entire world, like home improvement wise, and trying to keep himself busy.
Yeah.
Have you done anything like that?
Yes, that I'm learning how to do certain things around the computer. Photoshop is amazing. I try to spice up our Phillies roundtables with some fun backdrops.
Sure.
Special one coming tomorrow. And no, not that one. You already seen it. Not happening. But yeah, no, I just preschool teacher. That's not me.
Not you?
No. My daughter looks at me like, yeah, mom's better. Mom's better. There's so many things that you could do during this time, right? That you feel like are productive, but then you're at home and you get it done fast. And the next thing you know, you're like, what next? So you try to slow play everything. I don't know about you on this, but that's how I've been doing it. I'm trying to slow play things because you just know that there's time. What else are you going to do?
Well, I wake up at 8 o'clock every morning. I'm like, all right, what am I supposed to do now? Do I just wait in bed for another 2 hours to get my day started, or do I start it early and then end it early?
I don't know. If you listen to Philly's podcast at all, mine, Pine Tar for Breakfast, a little shout out. Yesterday I talked to Joe Girardi, and the one thing that we all, and it doesn't matter any walk of life, right? Routine is biggest thing. And if you don't have that routine set, you're screwed up. You're off. And for baseball players, for myself, whether you're in the game still, whether you're broadcasting, there's still a routine. Well, people have that every day, every walk of life. Well, it takes a little bit to figure it out. It's easy to figure it out in the off season, but not when basically you're home doing nothing right after a suddenly abrupted, halt to spring training where you were in your routine. So trying to find that routine, like you waking up at 8 o'clock, figuring out what you're going to do. It's like, I wake up, it depends on 6:30 to 7:30.
Right.
Sometimes, the wife will let me sleep until 8. My daughter will, like today she was at my bed like this. Daddy, ready to go? Ready to go? And, I have no energy. She has no energy. So it's even better. But the routine thing, trying to find that, figure it out, I think is the main thing. And you say it's hard. It's hard, especially right now during this part of the season, or what's supposed to be during season.
Right. You can find that podcast on Apple at Kevin Frandsen on Twitter as well. Is that the best way to find it?
Yeah, you can find it anywhere. It's really promoted well, and we try to do as much as we can.
So we were talking before we started this. You called it one of your most prized possessions behind you right now. Tell us a little bit about the backstory of the jerseys hanging up behind you.
That one right there?
That's the one.
Yeah, that one right there is signed by Barry Bonds, teammate, friend, one that I text back and forth with. But this guy right here is my jersey from 756, the night that he broke it. I was playing shortstop. The dirt is from the very first batter of the game, had a leadoff hit, and I was playing short, dove up the middle. It was completely wet out there. Boom. I kept it.
Of course you did.
That's my pride and joy. I being a part of that, being part of the whole run, up to it. Just when you grow up in the Bay Area and you're around that and you see it as a fan, it's amazing. And then as a teammate, to witness it, to be, right in the middle of it, I can't even. It's hard to explain. It was the most surreal moments.
What's the main difference between Bay Area sports and Philly sports? Is it very similar in terms of the overall fans, or is there a difference?
I would say us in the Bay Area are really good fans, but we're petty. For the most part, Philadelphia is not petty. It's either you're really good and we love you, you're really bad, We love you, but we want to hate you. There's no in between. And you tell me if I'm off on that. That's just the way I perceive it. With the Bay Area sports, it's either they're great and we love them, or they're so bad. Yeah, I don't really care. It's one of the. It's just that was never me.
Mm-hmm.
I was all in with all of them all the time. But if you want to go about like just in the entirety of the fan bases, that's what it would be. I mean, there's always a love. Everyone, that's the beauty of sport. And I think I've told you this, is like one of the things that bugs me about professional athletes in general are you go from city to city to play in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it goes a little bit on the fans too, but you just don't become the fan, like a member of the other teams, right? You don't become a member of the Philadelphia Eagles or the Flyers. And fans would be like, oh, why don't you like us? It's like the Philadelphia fan base, more than anything, should not just embrace those guys right away, because I think it's over time. It's a fandom thing, right? So if you go from city to city and now you're like, oh, well, I love these guys. Well, I love these guys. It's just not real.
Right.
And I've always stayed true to my franchises that I've loved and grew up with. Doesn't mean that you can't, expand on that. But I also feel like it takes time for you to gain appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
like a true fan.
Right.
I could sit here and talk Eagles football with you. Am I a fan of the Eagles? Yeah, I like the Eagles, but I'm not a fan. I'm not the diehard fan yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that takes time. You can't just say, like, walk in one day and be like, yep, I'm diehard. I just don't believe in that.
So you, growing up in the Bay Area, big Niners fan. Niners make the run, obviously, to the Super Bowl, but they're a staple in the Bay Area. Things are changing right now in terms of the Raiders right now. I know you're here in Philly now full time, but what was the kind of vibe out in the Bay Area when it first found out that the Raiders were going to be leaving?
Well, if you're a Niner fan, you're going, peace. Now, I mean, like, look, the Raiders are a classic franchise. I'm not going to say an iconic franchise, but a classic, right? Just because of, I think early in my youth, when they went down from Oakland to LA back to Oakland, and now back to, or not back to, but to Vegas.
Right.
It's just like it's a whatever franchise. You have you have diehards there. You don't have Raider fans. You have Raider diehards,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Like, there's not that, like, oh, let's go catch a Raider game. You don't have that. Yeah, with the Niners, it's like you have the diehard Niner fans, and you have people that are willing and wanting to go to see the Niners play.
Right.
And that is the biggest difference. So when they, make this move to Vegas, a few of my buddies who are Raider fans, couple of them, it was like split in half. It was like a couple of them were like whatever. A couple of them were really pissed.
Mm-hmm.
But the couple that were really whatever were like, get our flights to Vegas now.
Right.
Let's do it. And you're just like, oh, okay, so you're all in. Like, there's no doubt about it. So yeah, I mean, the whole structure of the Bay Area, you have the Warriors moving from Oakland to San Francisco, basically back to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually, I think, garnered more attention and
Mm-hmm.
more pushback by a lot of people, and acceptance by, it's just like, it's so weird, because you're going, everyone wants to say, it's like very similar to the Niners going from Candlestick Park to Lehigh Stadium in Santa Clara. Santa Clara it was 10 minutes from our house.
Right.
Beautiful. The place is awesome. Candlestick was a dump. It was our dump, but it was a dump. It was like, anyone that's complaining about Levi's Stadium because, oh, by the way, it's Northern California, you're going to get sun pretty much the entire, every day of the year.
Right.
You get the sun side. It's too hot here. It's like, what did you want? You had people wanting a dome there.
Right.
Like a retractable roof. And you're like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Are we even human?
Right. It's not like you're going to the Pacific Northwest.
No.
Right.
No. So, look, it's incredible to think that, with the Warriors moving from Oakland to San Francisco, you get pushed back, but the Chase Center is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't Oracle Arena.
Right.
But the Warrior fan is a true like that fan, that Warrior fan, would most likely be the one that would fit best in the Philadelphia sports.
Really? So
In
there's
the
not
fan,
like a fan weather Warrior fans even during that
dude,
huge
when they were for 20 years, they were terrible.
Wow.
Terrible. Like you get a random one in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had the We Believe team in 07. They would pack that place. It would be so loud. It was awesome. And they were winning like 20 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something about it. There was something about it. And so that to me is the most like fan base of anything in Philadelphia. But if you go in overall, going back to the original question,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't match up.
Yeah. Let's go back to your time with the Pigs. Spent parts of 2 seasons in Lehigh Valley, and one of those teams was probably one of the, if not the most famous Iron Pigs team in history.
Yeah, we're the best.
You guys were the best.
Yeah, we're the best, flat out.
Despite not winning the IL North, still you won a playoff series, which has never happened before that. And you guys unfortunately fall to Columbus. But what was that team like? What were the guys like? And I mean, how much fun did you guys have playing that season?
Whew. It was incredible. Look, I got suspended 50 games for taking something that I should be taking, which I am taking. And it was heartbreaking, not because I was playing well at the time. It was because our team was the most fun I've ever had playing just the game of baseball. We had a lot of guys that were in the same situation. We're an older team, a lot of big league time, trying to make it. But we did it with, under Ryan Sandberg and Sal Rendy on the offensive side. And then you just look at Rod Nichols on the, from the pitching side. And Rod was amazing. But I mean, like, just from the whole thing, we all hung out together. We all went, we would go and have beers together, if that's allowed, which was allowed because we were well over 21. I really can't explain other than we literally had each other's back all the time. Rhino would always talk about it. And it's amazing to think back and think about how unselfish of a team we had with a lot of selfish ways of trying to get to the big leagues. And it was Rhino's way of saying, like, look, if you take care of business for each other, if you do this for, get a guy over, you're not getting a hit. Your average is going to go down. But if you get a guy over, we get him in, your team's up 1-0, guaranteed that at some point you're going to get that back. And it was ingrained in all of us. And look, whether it was Tagbo Zaid, who was our phantom, DL guy the entire time. And then, he went off, one of the best hitters I've ever been around, to, Josh Barfield. You had, D Brown, Brandon Moss, Delwyn Young, Jeff Larish. You're going on Richie Thompson, stealing, I think he almost stole 50 bags that year.
Yeah.
But and we could go on. So anyway, you had, oh man, on the pitching side, you're just thinking about like, Dave Bush, Nate Bump, Scott Ellerton. Trying to think of all we had Grilly. Grilly was there early on, and then he went over and then ended up becoming an all-star with Pittsburgh, which was awesome. But it just we had each other's back. More than anything. And we were good. And we knew it. Our bus rides were more fun than anyone's ever had in their life. And so it made for not a long year. It was one of those where, getting suspended sucked, obviously. Self-inflicted suspension. But coming back and being embraced by them the entire time. And when I was gone, they were, texting back and forth and still with that whole thing. It was the most memorable experience I've had, for and until late, years later. So for me, oh, dude, it brings chills to me because I go back to game 1 of the playoffs. It was against Pawtucket, and the first game, it was not as big of a crowd. It was like, I want to say like 5,000. And we were kind of like, oh man, people don't really get it. Oh, the next night they got it. The place was sold out. And I'm talking first batter of the game, 2 strikes, crowd was on their feet. And I'm going, what? Like I remember playing third going like, oh, this is real. And it was unbelievable. So from that point on, we were just going, this is the greatest thing ever. And so, obviously losing to Columbus was not fun, but the whole entire experience was amazing.
Before I let you go, I want to get your take on the current state of youth baseball. And so much is brought up of whether it's showcases and, travel teams, and whether winning is important, development is important. Where do you see youth baseball going in a way that helps develop some of these guys that aren't necessarily just lighting up the radar gun constantly? Or, do you think that the toolsy player has kind of gone away from the game because of where youth sports is headed in terms of not as many guys going to college, or not many guys playing college ball, or more just playing travel ball as a whole?
I actually believe that unfortunately with this time and the coronavirus and the cancellation of seasons, whether it's high school, little league, moving on forward, I think this year will play a bigger part going forward in so many things, because you think about the NCAA still on the decision to give back that year to athletes. That could screw up a lot of things going forward. And so the way I look at it is, youth sports, we're going to see the cyclical effect. I feel like we always will, with the game of baseball especially. You're going to go from guys that are so into like, oh, I got so much power, let's maximize this, back down to the baseball player. Because when we get back down to this whole thing, what wins baseball games? Talent, number one. But number two, the execution and being the most well-rounded teams. That would probably be that could even be one more than a talent. And I think, as people grasp and understand that a lot of the concepts that are going on with the analytics, with the hitting gurus, it's all about vocabulary.
Right.
If they use the same vernacular, if they use the same things that we use as baseball people, teaching these kids, they'll grow. But because everyone wants to talk, I think the biggest problem we're going to run into youth sports is everyone trying to think that they are way up here to, coaching wise compared to the people down here. Instead of thinking like, yeah, I'm going to try to, make myself better for these kids to be better. And my way isn't the only way. And your mom's a teacher. There's not one way that she thinks that just like, right. I mean, there's always a constant adjustment that she makes.
Yeah.
And my parents are teachers. And so the one thing that I do know about my parents being teachers is they were constantly adjusting, and coaches, they're constantly adjusting. Well, for the athlete, a coach has got to adjust. It can't be just one way. It can't be a cookie cutter way for everything. So I think when you look at youth sports, yes, it is going to be about parents and player, as far as we go moving forward, and how athletic are they going to be? Are they specialized, or are they going to be playing multiple sports? I'm all about multiple sports. Or are we going to have coaches that say it's this way or no way? You're only going to do this. You can't do this. This will never make you better. Instead of grooming these kids to love the game, number one, love it first. Then we'll develop. And developing doesn't mean we're going to make you got to be this type of hitter right now. It's only to get better. And for me, if we're going to see youth sports, we're going to see youth baseball get back to where it was when we were younger. It's about, for me, taking away from the coaches the me part. Look what I did for this guy. Look what I did for that guy. Back into what it was about being a good coach. And that's making everyone better, a winning player, a better player. And we'll see from there. But then till then, I don't know. I have no idea what this generation is going to bring.
Well, Kev, I appreciate you taking the time and joining us. And hopefully
I hated every minute of it, Patrick.
I know you did.
You're the best.
Kevin Frandsen, Phillies radio broadcaster, former IronPig, joining us on Welcome to the Pig Leagues. Kevin, talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.